You're not gonna believe the amazing feature in this model home right behind me, because today we got an amazing one for you. We're in one of Jacksonville's hottest and newest locations. So with that being said, let's go ahead and check out this amazing floor plan and discuss just where we're at today and why people are choosing to live and move to Jacksonville, Florida. All right, so this floor plan is ideally probably one of my most favorite floor plans here in Northeast Florida, just due to the way everything's laid out, starting with your really large front porch here. You know, sometimes you get these front porches here in Jacksonville where they're not super usable, but this one, as you can see, there's plenty of depth there. It's very wide as well. So you have a lot of ability there to really be able to utilize it, to be able to enjoy it, to be able to hang out with people. Because again, on a day like today where it's such a beautiful day out, that's what it's all about here in Jacksonville, is being outside and being a part of nature. Now you also see here, we do have our single car garage here and our double garage on the other side. So this is a 3-car garage floor plan. Just something to kind of take into account. You know, 3-car garage floor plans are normally always gonna be much of a better seller, but also does fit a lot of your needs as well. Then when you come in through this front porch, come into the front of the house, right away you're gonna see here we have these super high ceilings. You know, they did the open railing for the stairwell, which is honestly really beautiful as well. So really just beautiful across the board with how they did that, especially with like the wood flooring as well, with that lighter wood. You know, there's a lot of really great feng shui with this house, just really good flow, and you're gonna see that as we go throughout this video. But it does bring a good point that as we're going through this, if you see anything you have questions on, or if you really love this house, you wanna know more about it right this second, don't hesitate to reach out to me with a call, a text, an email. It'll be on the screen. You can also schedule time on my calendar because I'm always here to help answer any and all questions you have. But right away, as we come over to this wing of the house, you're gonna see right away that we have this really nice, well-appointed office. And with this office too, and with most of the house, as you'll notice, you know, we have these really tall ceilings. So these are gonna be your 11-foot ceilings, which do give you a lot of space, makes everything feel much larger. And then obviously having all this glass in here with these tall ceilings gives you tons and tons of natural light, which I absolutely love. Now, one cool thing the builder did on this one is they actually did do like a wood paneling for the wall. You know, maybe even could act as maybe like a soundproofing to some degree, but definitely a little bit of a different style. It's something that you don't see too often. So I love when builders kind of change it up like that to show you what you can do with them. In addition, we do have the crown molding throughout and the tall baseboards throughout, which really just highlights just how, you know, of a high-end look this house is. And it really does make this house feel very luxurious with all the finishes they chose and did in this one. And a lot of the stuff you can do with the builder yourself, which is a huge bonus. Now, on the other side, next to the office is gonna be our first bedroom. So this bedroom here, we actually have a walk-in closet, which is really cool. But we also have, with the walk-in closet on this side, we also have our bathroom on this side. So this does double as more like a mini primary, you know, it could be a great mother-in-law wing of the house. You know, there's probably a thought process there that you could make this the bedroom, and that office you can almost make as more a additional living space for, you know, a parent or a more adult kid, whatever the case may be that you need for it. But here in the first bathroom, I will say I love how they did the wood cabinets. Almost kind of matches the color of the wood floors with the white quartz countertop. But then here, the builder actually did the seamless glass with that polygon tile up to the ceiling, and they did it all in black. So it really contrasts the lighter colored tile and countertops in this space. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that. You know, it's one of those things that some people would absolutely love that. Some people may think it's just too dark for the space considering there's no window in there. But I'd love to know your thoughts to see which way you're kind of leaning on it. Because realistically, there's different things you could do there. One thing I will say though is I do love the fact that they actually went up to the ceiling with that tile, because it definitely does complete the look of, you know, that bathroom. So then as we continue to move forward throughout the house, and again, as you'll notice, there's like accent colors with the walls. You know, there's a lot of things that the builder did here to really make the space feel very unique no matter where you're at in the house. But on this side, next to the front door, we're gonna have our half bath for guests. Great space, so that way they don't have to utilize any of the bathrooms downstairs, because all the bathrooms downstairs are going to be attached to a bedroom. So again, gives guests their own ability to have their own space over there. And then the door here is gonna take us to our 1-car garage. We're not gonna spend too much time here, but I just wanna highlight, having the 1-car garage here is a very deep 1-car garage. And what's really cool on this is the builder did do the epoxy floors. So again, the epoxy is one of those things that's probably gonna be an upgrade. If you wanna really confirm that though, you gotta reach out to me so we can go over that. But the epoxy, it seals the concrete, gives it a much cleaner, much better look across the board. So realistically, it's one of those things that if you want done, it typically makes sense to do with the builder unless their cost is exponentially more than what you could get after the fact. So just something to take into account. And then underneath the stairs, we do have a very deep storage closet. So that's just one of those things that I do like to highlight when we get all this space, because even though this is gonna be a large house, probably one of the larger houses that you'll find here in Northeast Florida, especially with this specific builder in this community, which we will go over that further as we go through this video. But ultimately, no matter how big the house is, it's one of those things that when you do buy a house, sometimes you start to fill the space. And so having as much space as possible for storage is never a bad thing. So now that we're upstairs, again, want to highlight one more time, this open railing here. It's super clean the way that the builder did this. And it's a very modern look with how they did it, which we don't see too often with a lot of these models here. So it's really cool that they actually chose and went with that approach. So it really does give it a nice effect, as you can see with having it all the way around. What it does is it keeps the space open. And so it really does allow you to be able to utilize the space to its full potential, and really just makes the depth of the house feel that much larger. Now over here, we have our loft. So as you'll see, this loft is a very, very great size loft. It's really cool how it's open to your living room back here, which we'll touch on later. It's also open to your stairwell over here, and it's open to your bedroom. So everything feels very open, along with the fact that with these taller ceilings in here, sometimes you go up to the second floor, you'll get more 8-foot ceilings, but here we still have, 10-foot ceilings. So with having that extra height, it still does give you depth. It still makes it feel luxurious, definitely makes it feel like a very high-end home. So it's just one of those things that it was a really well thought out process for the builder across the board. And we'll touch on the loft more moving forward, but before we get over there, let's check out now the first bedroom upstairs. So this can be our second bedroom overall, but first bedroom upstairs. In this bedroom, it's a very well-sized bedroom. We have our nightstands, we have our dresser, small little chair in the corner, queen size bed. It may actually be a full-size bed, but still really good size. Tons of natural light, which with these high ceilings really just make a nice impact. You have some recessed lighting in here, which is something you can do. And then obviously they have the chandelier, but you could easily do a ceiling fan if that's what fits more of your family's wants and needs as well. In addition, we do have our closet here, which is a standard size closet. But one thing I will say that I like that they did here is they actually did the double French doors. So no bifolds. You still get that taller door height here, just like downstairs, which makes the space feel bigger. And with the French doors, it's just a nicer look than the bifolds that constantly break, or even the sliders, which sometimes break as well. In addition, with this bedroom, we also have another room with its own bathroom. So here you'll see that they matched the countertops, cabinets, and flooring to the bathroom downstairs. So again, to keep that simplicity, but also to keep that uniformity. But then for the shower, they actually just did a more standard white tile for the shower. Kind of matches the white tile for the flooring as far as color-wise. One thing I would like to have seen is again that tile up to the ceiling. But again, it does show you that most likely it's going to be a upgrade with this builder to do it. But overall, does also show you what is the standard, which kind of gives you a nice ability to compare and contrast the two. But realistically, really good sized bathroom. Really cool to have your own bathroom for this bedroom. And that's something too, is that for a home of this size, a home of this price point, typically what you're gonna want is you're gonna want every bedroom to have its own bathroom. Because not only is it something that you'll want for your family, but it also helps with resale across the board. And if you wanna know why that's the case, reach out to me so we can further discuss that as well. But with the loft here, again, as we kind of continue through it, again, having like 2 separate sections for the loft is actually a really cool feature. Really like the way that they designed the space as well. So that way, it has its own separation from each other, but yet it's still all one space. So really cool across the board in that sense. Tons of recessed lighting, obviously the natural light as well. So really, again, the lighting has been a great feature across the board for this specific floor plan with this builder. Now, before we go to this bedroom, let's check out the bathroom. So this is the one bathroom that is not attached to the bedroom because, again, if you have guests over and they're upstairs, you have to have one for them to be able to use. But as you'll see here, they did continue the same cabinetry, the same countertops as what we've seen in the other two, same flooring as well. They're gonna have everything as soft close for the cabinetry as well, which again, keeps it super clean, super quiet. The tile shower here is gonna be the same as the other bathroom. Again, did not go up to the ceiling, but you obviously could with this builder. And with these tubs too, they are really good sized deep tubs for a guest bathroom. So great use of the space. Again, everything just flows super well with this house. So again, if you have any questions, if you want to know just what it takes to get a house just like this, reach out to me so we can further discuss all of that in more detail. Now for this bedroom, this is going to be our third bedroom, but second bedroom upstairs. And this one's definitely the largest bedroom so far. And this bedroom also has tons of natural light. So just one of those things that, again, if you like to have that natural light, this is the perfect room for you. If you don't, then you might want to invest in some blackout curtains for a room like this. But really, with the size, they even have this little kick-in over here just to add on to it. So it really does give you that ability that you could make this almost like a little book nook over here if you do have someone in the family who likes to read and this becomes their room. But with the size of the room, you could easily fit a queen size bed in here. You honestly could fit a king and you still would be good on space as well. And in addition, we also have our walk-in closet here. So realistically, we're 3 bedrooms in, 2 of them have walk-in closets. So that is a great ability to have, something that's not always a guarantee with these homes. So it just really goes to show just the size of the house, goes to show how the space was utilized. But realistically, it does fit everything you could want. And you'll see that as we continue to go forward, but it really does fit everything that you would want in a house. So like I said, it's one of my favorite floor plans. Love the design finish that they chose for this. And it's something that you could do yourself if this is the house for you. You just gotta reach out to me so we can further discuss that. But yeah, overall, open railing, absolutely love. One of those things that just makes sense to do with the builder rather than after the fact. Because again, if you do after the fact, it's gonna be a little bit more of a bit of a project, bit of a mess. But overall, just one of those things that really does enhance the look of the home. So let's go now head back downstairs and let's check out more of this stunning model home. All right, so now that we're back downstairs, before we go to the dining room, living and kitchen, all that, I do want to just highlight over here is going to be our little mudroom area. They did a nice little built-in here for storage and whatnot. So again, when you come in at the end of the day and you want to take your shoes off, you kind of have a designated place for it. Over on this side, just I'll quickly open the door. That's gonna be your 2-car garage. Nothing too crazy with it. They did do the epoxy with it as well, just to finish it off. But overall, just really clean across the board. But then as we continue on through the house, we get to the first part of the trifecta, which is our dining room. Now this dining room is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. You have the faux wood beams on the ceiling with the tray ceiling just to kind of give it more of a look, more of an aesthetic. Obviously, it's a massive space here because this is an 8-seater table, just to put in perspective. And realistically, you could easily make this a 10-seater table if you so desired. So without really feeling like you're tight on space. So this is an amazing feature here. We also have over here our wet bar. So with the wet bar, you have tons of additional cabinetry over here for your wine glasses, your whiskey glasses, your whiskeys, your bourbons, anything you could really want. They've included a wine fridge there as well. You have your sink with it, which is what makes it a wet bar. So realistically, just well thought out space across the board. And they've really maximized every little detail you could think of with this specific floor plan. So just really cool across the board. In addition, we do have accent walls with that shiplap wall. Definitely one of those things that definitely helps break up the monotony of just the drywall. So I do like when the builders do that. Sometimes if they do too much of it, it can be a little excessive, but in this case, I think it's a very healthy amount. It really helps add to the look of the space. We even have here, for the separation between our living room and our dining room, we have a space here that you could actually use for many different things. It does kind of help separate the space, but again, like if you like to have friends over or guests over or family over, and you want to have more of a ability to host and just have buffet style, that's the word. So you'll have like a buffet style with the food. This is a great space where you can kind of do that, and whether people are using the dining room or the living room, this is a great place where you can just keep all the food as it's prepared for people to just be able to go and use. And again, all these cabinets are going to be soft close, something that this builder did with this model. Not always going to be something that's going to come with the home as a standard. So that's something you have to reach out to me if you want to know what's a standard and what's an upgrade with a house just like this. But it does show you what you can do with it. Now for the living room here, as you'll see, we'll just go and do a nice pan up. As you can see, super tall ceiling since it is open to the second story. They also did a tray ceiling with this, and they made it a coffered tray ceiling. So just really adds a lot of height, a lot of depth. And this is really the space of the house that if you weren't sure if the house was luxurious enough for you, I guarantee you this space is going to ensure that you feel the luxurious of the space. But realistically, it's a great sized living room. They have natural light up there as well. One thing I will say, would be curious to see what it's like to place a light bulb up there or to dust around the windows up there, but that's obviously one of those things that you'll learn as you go. But realistically, just a great size space overall. They continue the shiplap wall here for the living room, for that accent wall. And it opens us up to the dining room, which we already highlighted, but it also opens us up to the kitchen as well. So right away with the kitchen, they do have the Sub-Zero appliances, the Wolf appliances, all high end for a house that's gonna be more of a high end house. Realistically, just great use of the space with it. Just, again, if you're gonna do it, sometimes we joke, you better overdo it. And this house is definitely one of those that classifies as that. With the island, it's so big, you do get additional cabinetry on the sides. You get the massive island here, which is that same quartz as what we saw in the bathrooms. Nice, large, farm-style porcelain deep sink. And as you can see, it opens us up right to the living room. And then on the other side here, we have, like I said, that Wolf gas stovetop. So Wolf obviously is a very high-end brand, so they are trying to show this is a very high-end, modern, luxurious house. But needless to say, whether if it's this house or any other house in this community we're in today, you do get the gas appliances with it because this is a gas community. So just one of those things that, a lot of the homes we do look at are gas homes, but we always want to make sure we highlight that because not every neighborhood here in Jacksonville is going to be a gas neighborhood. In addition, the builder on this one did the pot filler, so you can kind of see what that looks like. The pot fillers are a great thing to do, especially if you do it with the builder. If you do it after the fact, it can be more pricey and definitely a lot more of a mess. So that's one of those things that just, it's one of those handful of things that I always tell people, if you want, you probably want to do it with the builder. And I always go through that with you, the process to make sure we get what makes the most sense. We have the nice oversized Wolf vented hood as well with it. And then for the backsplash, as you'll notice too, as we continue through, the backsplash is that quartz backsplash, matches the quartz countertop. And it's one of those things that we're seeing more often nowadays with these homes. Instead of doing like the subway tile backsplash, we are seeing more of this going back to maybe like an old school approach with doing the countertop or the backsplash the same as the countertop. So just something that's good to know. And then just because it's good to show it, we do have our walk-in pantry right off the kitchen here, kind of tucked away. I actually like how it's tucked away. It kind of keeps it hidden from guests who don't necessarily need to have to see it every day. But that definitely makes it a little more of a private space back in there for any of your foods or miscellaneous cookware that you don't need to put in any of these cabinets. You do have plenty of room for that. But yeah, tons of cabinetry here, and then it leads us to our Wolf microwave oven combo. So with the way they did these appliances, we do have a double oven with this house. We have one on the wall here, obviously one with the stovetop, and then the microwave being a Wolf microwave, again, great size here. This is one of those items where maybe you wouldn't do Wolf and Sub-Zero with your house if this was the one you wanted as far as floor plan is concerned, but it does show you what you could do with it if you did want it. And then they actually extended the cabinetry out to the more eat-in kitchen part of the house. And the cabinetry here, again, just like with the one over there, you could use this for like a coffee bar. You could use it for, serving food buffet style. There's a lot of different things you could do with it here. And then having like the open cabinetry, so to speak, here, open shelving, allows you to put some of your more show pieces, so to speak, up there for people to see when they come and visit. Then for the more eat-in part of the kitchen, we have here a 6-seater dining room table. So again, if you don't necessarily need to have the big table there, you can maybe reuse that space for something else and make this more of your dining room. But it just kind of shows the impact of a floor plan like this, where it does give you multiple spaces of the house that you can make for your dining room or more of your eat-in area, and just shows that there's a lot of different ways you could utilize this beautiful layout of this model home. But next up, as we continue to move forward, we are actually not going to check out the primary bedroom just yet. We're actually going to now go outside and check out the amazing backyard with this floor plan. All right, so with this backyard, before you even really get into the backyard, let's just highlight the sliding glass door here. And the reason I want to highlight it is, as you'll notice here, the way that they did these, it actually tucks in behind the wall, so that we don't see that often with builders. And what it allows is, it really allows you, when you're entertaining, when you have family or friends or guests over in general, it really allows you to make the outside of the house and the inside of the house as one. So it really gives you that ability to utilize the whole house for whatever need you have for it. So I love when the builders do that, because again, it's not typical to have that. Some floor plans won't even allow for it because of the way that the floor plan is designed. As you can see here, like the sliding glass door on this side, you can't do that with, just to show the perspective of it. But in addition, these are also those taller sliding glass doors. I mean, definitely not your standard. These are gonna be your 10 or 11 foot tall sliding glass doors. So again, just really gives off a very, like I said, high-end, elegant look with it. But then for our back porch here, what I love about this is they actually did cover most of this back porch. So because it's all fully covered like this, it really does give you the ability to utilize it any time of the year. You don't have to worry about if it's raining. You don't have to worry about if it's too hot, too cold. You do have it fully enclosed. You could obviously do some screens if you wanted to screen it in. But in this case, the builder left it open to kind of show you what you could do without it being screened in. They also did the paver back porch, which I absolutely love. It just gives it a more finished look than the concrete. You don't have to worry about the concrete cracking. And so the pavers just really give it a nicer look with that. Over here, we do have our gas fireplace. Fireplace, fire pit, however you want to call it. Again, another focal point, another feature of this house to be able to show off to people. Because again, here in Jacksonville, you may only use this, 10 to 14 days a year, because it does stay pretty warm here. But we do get some colder days where you could get a good use of that space. So it's nice that it's there like that, just to be able to fully maximize your backyard. And then above it, they did give us that metal pergola, just to kind of complete the look of it. I am glad they did the metal, because the wood pergolas will rot at some point. So the metal is just more of a finished product in that sense, and I have to worry about down the road. Then on this side of the back porch, back patio, backyard, we do have another eating area, dining room, so to speak, outside. Again, this is probably a 6-seater table. Maybe you could do 8. But again, just shows you the depth here. And it's about the same size as the one inside, because it's kind of the same location, just outside. Then we get to our outdoor kitchen, or our summer kitchen. So again, if you're someone who, like I had one client once where they like to have the, they like to have the outdoor kitchen for all their meats. They like to cook their meats outside and they cook their veggies inside. So if you're like that and whatnot, this is a great way you could design your space out here with having the nice large farm style metal sink. A space here for your big green egg if you wanted that. Mini fridge for obviously all of your drinks and whatnot, alcoholic or non-alcoholic drinks. You have your trash here. And then we have our gas grill out here as well. So with the gas grill, it just kind of completes the look, but really does show you what you could utilize with the space, even some storage down below. So just well thought out overall, and really just, like I said, it maximizes your backyard. Now, could the builder have done a pool with this house? They could have, but they chose not to on this one. But That's not to say you can't do a pool with them, because that is something that the builder will do if you buy a home in their community right now, is they will put a pool in with the purchase of one of their floor plans, so long as the lot size allows for it. Some builders won't do that, this builder will. Now, if you want to know who this builder is, we'll get there. But with that being said, let's now go ahead and check out what I think is the best feature of this house, which is that primary bedroom. Now, the best for last, because you deserve the best. So this primary bedroom, as you'll see when we come in, it's tucked in back here off of the living room, which honestly gives it that much more privacy. And the reason I think it's the best feature is because of the way it's laid out and the size of it and just how everything connects with it. But right away, you're gonna see here with this primary bedroom, it's an amazing size. I mean, we have the nightstands, the king size bed, we have the dresser here, and there's still more room to play around with if you needed to. Obviously some of the design features they chose for, it's a great look, including having that tray ceiling with the wood beams to kind of match what we saw in the dining room. But it's just the way everything connects, the way everything flows, that just makes this, makes it a space where you could really spend most of your day in and you wouldn't, feel bad about it. So tons of natural light with it as well. And then we also have this area off to the side here is more like a lounging area. So again, if you have a big family and let's say that, the kids want to use the living room, or you have family staying over for the weekend and the kids are upstairs and the family's in the living room, you have your own mini living room right here off the back of the house to be able to hang out in, to be able to have that privacy, that intimacy, so to speak. Again, you still have all that natural light with it as well, but it just goes to show you another way you could do this floor plan. In addition, if you wanted to close these walls up and make this almost like a small office, I guarantee that's probably an option you can do with this floor plan as well. So just overall, really well thought out with that. And I really like having, I haven't seen it too often, but more lately I've seen that with having that more like lounging, side area off the living room. And the more I like it, the farther, the more I see it. Now here, coming into the bathroom, I just do want to highlight this real quick. They actually did the sliding doors, so the pocket doors, but they actually did on both sides to almost give you more of that accordion effect, so to speak. Maybe that's the wrong word for it. But overall, I love the look of that because it kind of makes it feel, again, more luxurious and more high-end with the way that it's laid out there. Now, here in the primary ensuite, right away, you're gonna notice we have a his and hers sinks. So again, plenty of cabinetry here. We have a nice, huge soaker tub with it as well. Obviously, the transom window for some natural light. And then we have the oversized shower here, which they actually did that black tile up to the ceiling with this. Different pattern for the black than what we saw in the one other bedroom downstairs for that bathroom, but super clean pattern. I love how they went up to the ceiling with it. They even gave us a little nook there for our toiletries, our soaps, our shampoos. The only thing you could say is why there's no rain head, but some people like them, some people don't. But needless to say, really great size shower across the board. I do love the seamless glass all around the space. So just really well thought out there, in my opinion, for this bathroom as far as the shower is concerned and everything else with it. Now, here's something that's really cool. I love when builders do this. We'll get to the closet in a second, but obviously, closet's only meant for your clothes, including your dirty clothes. What do you do when you need to go do your laundry? Typically you have to go around, you're out of your bedroom, go around the house, get to the laundry room. But what I love about this specific floor plan is they actually have an option where you can have the laundry room right off of your primary bathroom. So this laundry room is a great size. And again, it's not private just to the primary. We do have another door here that I had closed earlier that may look familiar. What I love about this laundry room is, again, it's a great size space. You still have room for your sink, tons of cabinetry here for storage of your soaps for your laundry machine, dryer sheets for your dryer. And again, it does open up over here to our 2-car garage and our little mudroom area. So it may look familiar. So realistically, just really a great layout, really well thought out with the way they did this. And I love when the builders connect the laundry room to the primary because, again, it just makes too much sense. Then we come to our primary closet. So the primary closet here, it's kind of cool. They did the glass, so you can kind of, do the little twirl and see all around at the same time. But you'll notice here, we have a massive space. So we have one area off to the side here where they did do that custom closets to kind of show what you could do with it. Again, really good size overall, but we're not done there, because on the other side, we have even more space with even more custom closets. And honestly, you could argue they could have done more here as well if they had wanted to. So that's the cool thing about this closet, is it's actually probably one of the largest closets I've been in for primaries. And it just really does give you a lot of space to work with, especially if you do have a lot of clothes, which tends to happen, especially as you get bigger with the house and have more storage. You tend to, like I said, you tend to fill it more often too. So overall, that is going to be about it for the floor plan. But if you want to know what the floor plan name is, all the specs on it, who the builder is and what neighborhood we're in today, as well as just why people are choosing to live in and move to Jacksonville, we're now going to go over all that right now. With this floor plan, as I've mentioned before, I love so many features about it. The one that I loved the most was that primary bedroom. But I'd love to know what your thoughts are, so feel free, if you want, comment down below in this video what you thought was the most amazing feature of this house. So let me know what your thoughts are as well. Because really when it comes to living in and moving to Jacksonville, people always gravitate towards certain neighborhoods, certain locations, but also certain features that certain builders do give them. So it's important to always know with what you're looking for, what builder that's going to kind of put you with, and then from there, what location that's going to kind of put you in. Because today, we are here out in the Landings, one of Jacksonville's newest and hottest communities. And this is a community that's built by Pulte Homes, a national home builder. And with Pulte Homes, they actually have with this community a very cool concept where part of the community is actually just a general community, but then part of it's actually their Del Webb section. So it's gonna be 55 and up only, which gives you that ability to have that autonomy of being able to kind of, have different generations of people living all together, especially if you're looking at buying a house here and your parents or grandparents live here or also want to move here, and you want to be close to them, because this neighborhood allows you to have everyone in the same general neighborhood, don't have to deal with any busy streets, everything's going to be golf cart accessible. And what's cool too is all the neighborhoods here in Landings are going to be gated neighborhoods. And what's also cool with it too is not only is it gated, but some of the amenities you get here are very unique for neighborhoods here in Northeast Florida, in the fact that this neighborhood actually will give you boat and RV storage in the neighborhood. That's not something that a lot of neighborhoods can say, but here in Landings, they can say that. What I love about the Landings is, again, you feel like you're more in the country, more rural, but you're not too far away from all the major attractions that bring people to Northeast Florida. So again, if you're gonna be going to a sporting event, downtown, you're still only gonna be about 45 minutes or so away from the downtown sports complex. If you wanna go to the beach, again, 45 minutes or so away from there. As far as major shopping, Durban Pavilion's gonna put you probably 30 minutes or less. And then St. John's Town Center, which is like the place to go for shopping, again, you're 45 minutes or less away from there as well. So although you are a little bit further out in regards to like where most of the attraction is here in Jacksonville, you're not that far out either. So it definitely does give you a little more privacy with larger lots and larger home sites. So it's definitely something that's very cool across the board that you get here in the Landings. In addition, when it comes to living in Jacksonville, people do love this city because it's very family friendly, typically, speaking, and there's a lot of attraction you can do in Jacksonville, but also a lot of attraction you can do around as far as taking smaller trips to go visit other cities. So again, here, we're only about 2.5 hours away from Orlando. We're only about 4 hours or so away from Tampa, maybe 5 hours or less away from Miami, and about 6 hours or so away from Atlanta, and about 2.5 hours away from Savannah. So you have all these major cities that are just a short drive away, or maybe even a short plane ride away, where you can go for a weekend trip and be able to experience all the attraction there without paying the prices to live in those major cities. So you kind of get best of both worlds, in my opinion. But overall, that's enough about the location as far as that's concerned. Now let's get into more so what you really want to know, which is the floor plan we're in today, and just exactly what all we saw today and what you get for all that price-wise. So this floor plan we're in today is the Sanibel floor plan. As previously mentioned, it is built by Pulte Homes. And the Sanibel floor plan is one of their flagship floor plans here, which is why they made it one of their models. And for good reason, because this is an amazing layout. The feng shui, the flow of it is absolutely to die for. And the finishes they've chosen it really highlight the overall space as well. So it's by far one of my favorites that I've been able to kind of walk through. And it's a 2-story. I'm not a huge 2-story guy, so to make it one of my favorites, props to them for that. But this is a 4-bedroom floor plan. You can make it a 5-bedroom. It is a 4.5 bath floor plan that you can make into a 5.5 bath. And this one does have that 3-car garage, and the size of it is around 4,317 square feet. Now, obviously, if you do more with it, it does go up a little bit in square footage there. For instance, doing the 5.5 bath or the 5-bedroom, but really an amazing size at 4,300 square feet because it doesn't feel small, obviously being 4,300 square feet, but if anything, it feels even bigger than that, which I think is very impressive when a builder can give that effect to their floor plan. Now, as far as what Pulte is doing right now, before we get to the price, Pulte, when you do build with them, they are actually offering some pretty amazing incentives. Now, I do have to preface that with saying that those incentives are subject to change, so that's something to always take into account, that if you want to know what they are right this second, you gotta reach out to me so that way we can go over that, and I can get you the most up-to-date incentives at this time. But realistically, they're offering up $50,000 to $60,000, maybe even $70,000 to use towards design center. They're also sometimes coming off their lot premium some, so you sometimes get some discounts there depending on which lot it is. And they even are also offering some incentives when you use their lender to go towards your closing costs and prepaids with that lender. So tons of incentives across the board, but if you want to know what they are right this second, you gotta reach out to me. Because again, they are subject to change. And with the lots here, I forgot to mention, but they have 50-footers, 60-footers, and 65-foot wide lots, so plenty to choose from that as well, depending on what floor plan makes the most sense for you. But if the Sanibel floor plan is your floor plan, and as you're watching this video, currently this floor plan starts right at $904,990. So we'll call it $905,000. And for what you get for the size, for a lot of the finishes in here, that is very warranted for this specific floor plan. So if you want to know more about this floor plan, this builder, or any other floor plans or builders, at the end of this video is going to be some links to some of the other model home tours that we've shot before. But if you really want to know and dive into just which neighborhood may make the most sense for you and your family as you begin to move and start experience living in Jacksonville, reach out to me with a call, a text, an email. In the description will be a link to my calendar if you want to schedule a time for us to meet through Zoom. And I'm always happy to help answer all questions that you have as it pertains to moving to Jacksonville, because at the end of the day, I love this city and I'm hoping that you'll like it as well. So that being said, I'll see you guys again on our next model home tour and we'll go from there.